I never thought I'd share this story, but here I am. My name is Marcus, I'm 26 years old, and 3 years ago, my entire world collapsed because of a lie told by my older sister, Diana, who's 29. I grew up in a small Pennsylvania town with my parents, Robert, 55, and Patricia, 53, along with my sister Diana. We lived in a humble 2-story home that my parents bought as newlyweds. It wasn't luxurious, but it was our sanctuary. My father taught algebra at the regional high school while my mother worked as a registered nurse at the community medical center. Money was tight, but they ensured we never went without. During our childhood, Diana and I shared an unbreakable bond. We'd spend endless afternoons in our backyard, scaling the massive maple tree and creating elaborate adventures. She was always the mastermind, crafting intricate storylines while I happily played the supporting role. As we matured, however, the dynamic shifted. Diana excelled at everything she touched. She graduated valedictorian, led the forensics team, and seemed destined for greatness. Meanwhile, I took a more relaxed approach to life. My grades were decent, but I lacked Diana's burning ambition. This growing disparity gradually eroded our relationship. By the time Diana left for university, we'd become distant strangers. She earned a full scholarship to a prestigious institution while I remained local, attending the community college. I was still searching for my purpose, sampling various courses to discover my calling. After graduation, Diana moved to Chicago and landed a position at a prominent advertising firm. During holiday visits and occasional weekends, she'd regale us with tales of her glamorous lifestyle and successful career. I couldn't escape feeling inadequate in comparison. There I was, still living at home, working part-time at the neighborhood supermarket, struggling to find direction. Despite our differences, I believe Diana and I maintained a solid foundation. We weren't as close as childhood, but I assumed it was natural growing pains. I had no idea how quickly everything could crumble. 3 years ago, Diana and her boyfriend Kevin, 31, announced their engagement. They'd been together for 2 years, and everyone was thrilled. Kevin was an attorney from an affluent family, and my parents practically worshipped him. He proposed with a breathtaking diamond ring that belonged to his grandmother for generations. Diana was radiant, showing off the ring to anyone who'd look. The engagement party was spectacular. My parents invited what felt like our entire town. I remember feeling somewhat displaced among the sophisticated guests Diana and Kevin brought from the city. I stuck close to my old high school friends who still lived locally, feeling more comfortable with them than Diana's polished social circle. 1 month after the engagement, everything exploded. It was a Tuesday afternoon, and I had the day off. I was in my bedroom gaming, enjoying the peaceful house. Diana was visiting for a week, taking vacation time to start wedding planning with our mother. I heard them return from a shopping expedition, chatting and laughing downstairs. I didn't pay much attention and continued playing. About an hour later, Diana's scream pierced through the house. I rushed downstairs to see what was wrong, and she immediately accused me of stealing her engagement ring. She explained that she'd removed it while washing dishes and placed it on the kitchen counter. When she went to retrieve it, the ring had vanished. I was completely shocked and immediately denied the accusation, but Diana wouldn't hear my protests. She kept shrieking that I was the only other person home, so I must be the culprit. She claimed I'd always been envious of her achievements and probably wanted to sell the ring so I could finally move out and make something of myself. My parents arrived home during this chaos, and Diana recounted her version to them. To my horror, they believed her without question. My mother broke down crying, asking how I could betray my own sister. My father just stared at me with profound disappointment etched in his features. They immediately searched my room, turning everything upside down. They didn't find the ring, but they discovered my savings from the grocery store job, maybe a few $100s. Diana immediately seized on this, claiming I must have already sold the ring, and this was the evidence. I desperately tried explaining that I'd been saving for months, considering enrolling in community college courses, but nobody listened. The next few days were pure hell. My parents and Diana constantly pressured me to confess and return the ring. They threatened to involve the police if I didn't come clean. I was terrified and felt completely isolated. Nobody in my family believed me, and I was treated like a criminal in my own home. I reached out to several friends, but most had moved away after graduation. The few remaining in town seemed reluctant to get involved in family drama. I felt more alone than ever. After a week of relentless accusations and threats, my parents made the devastating decision that would change my life forever. They told me I had to leave. They said they could no longer trust me and that I was bringing shame to our family. They gave me 48 hours to pack and get out. I was completely devastated. I had nowhere to go and no plan. My best friend from high school, Jake, 26, who'd recently returned after military service, offered his couch temporarily. But I knew I couldn't stay long. His apartment was tiny and he was still getting established. I packed everything I could fit into a backpack and an old duffel bag: clothes, books, my laptop, and a few mementos from happier times. As I was leaving, I noticed Diana watching from her childhood bedroom window. I thought I glimpsed uncertainty in her expression, but she quickly looked away. Walking out of that house, the only home I'd ever known, was the most painful experience of my life. I felt betrayed and abandoned by the people who were supposed to love me unconditionally. The worst part was knowing I was completely innocent. For the next 2 months, I alternated between Jake's couch and cheap motels when I could afford them. I took whatever odd jobs I could find to survive. I worked as a dishwasher, dog walker, and even spent a few weeks doing construction work. It was brutal, but I was determined to prove my innocence and succeed independently. Eventually, I found steady work at a shipping facility outside town. The job was physically demanding with long hours, but the pay was reliable. It wasn't glamorous, but it allowed me to rent a small room in a shared house with other warehouse employees. I slowly began rebuilding my life, but the pain never faded. I'd lie awake replaying the events, wondering how everything went so wrong. How could my family turn against me so quickly? How could Diana, who grew up with me and knew me better than anyone, believe I'd do such a thing? I cut all contact with my family. They tried reaching out initially. My mother left tearful voicemails begging me to come home and make things right. My father sent terse text messages saying we needed to talk. Diana even showed up at the warehouse once, but I refused to see her. I couldn't bear speaking with them after their betrayal. They were no longer my family. For 3 years, this was my reality. I made new friends at work and in my shared house. We'd hang out after shifts, drink beer, and watch sports. It wasn't the life I'd imagined, but it was mine, built from nothing. I worked hard and earned a promotion to shift supervisor. I started taking online business management courses. I was slowly figuring out what I wanted to do with my life, but there was always part of me that remained angry and hurt. I missed my old life and family, but I couldn't forgive them for not believing me. Every holiday season was difficult. When I saw families shopping together or heard Christmas music, I felt profound sadness for what I'd lost. Then last week, I received an unexpected email from my father. The subject line simply read, "We need to talk." The message was brief, saying they needed to meet immediately about the ring incident. Initially, I was tempted to delete it like all their previous attempts to contact me. But something made me pause. Maybe curiosity, or maybe a small part of me still wanted closure. After hours of internal debate, I decided to hear them out. I called my father, and what he told me left me speechless. The ring had been found. Diana had accidentally knocked it into the garbage disposal while doing dishes. She only discovered this a few days ago when the disposal started making strange noises, and they called a plumber to investigate. My father said Diana was devastated when she realized what had happened, that I'd been telling the truth all along. He said they all felt terrible about what they'd done and wanted to make things right. I hung up feeling a whirlwind of emotions. On one hand, I felt vindicated. I'd always told the truth and now everyone knew it. But I was also furious. I was angry that it took 3 years to discover the truth, that I'd lost so much time with my family, and that I'd struggled alone for so long when I'd done nothing wrong. Now I'm at a crossroads. My family wants me to come home. They say they want to make amends. Diana has been calling and texting nonstop, begging for forgiveness. But I'm not sure I can forgive them. They kicked me out without hesitation, chose to believe the worst about me, and left me to fend for myself for 3 years. Part of me wants to tell them all to go to hell and live with the shame of what they did. But another part misses my old life and wonders if there's a way to rebuild what we lost. I don't know what to do. Should I give them a chance to make amends? Or should I continue living the life I built without them? I'm torn and could use some outside perspective on this entire situation. Update 1. It's been a week since my last post, and a lot has happened. I want to thank everyone for their advice and support. It really helped me process my emotions and decide what to do. After much deliberation, I chose to meet with my family. I felt I owed it to myself to confront them and seek closure, even if I wasn't sure about reconciliation. We agreed to meet at a neutral location, a small cafe in the neighboring town. I selected it because it was far enough from our hometown that we wouldn't encounter anyone we knew, but close enough that everyone could get there easily. I was extremely nervous on the day of the meeting. I hadn't seen my family in 3 years and wasn't sure what to expect. I arrived early and chose a corner table where we could have privacy. When they walked in, it felt like a punch to the gut. Seeing them after 3 years was overwhelming. My mother immediately burst into tears upon seeing me. She looked older than I remembered, with more gray hair and lines around her eyes. My father appeared exhausted and worn down, his shoulders sagging as if carrying an enormous burden. Diana couldn't meet my eyes initially. She seemed smaller and less confident than the sister I remembered. We sat down and for a moment, nobody knew what to say. Then they all started talking at once, apologies tumbling out. My parents said they'd failed as parents by not trusting me and kicking me out. They admitted they'd regretted their decision every day since, but pride and shame had prevented them from reaching out sooner. My father, who'd always been a man of few words, spoke for what felt like hours about how he'd replayed those days in his mind, trying to understand how he could have been so wrong. He said he'd always prided himself on being fair and reasonable, but emotion had clouded his judgment when it mattered most. My mother, through tears, told me how she'd kept my room exactly as I'd left it, hoping that someday I'd return. She said she'd wake up in the middle of the night thinking she heard me coming home, only to remember what had happened. Diana broke down completely, saying she'd never forgive herself for accusing me and destroying our relationship. She said she'd always looked up to me when we were kids, even though I was younger. She admitted she'd been so focused on her own life and problems that she'd lost sight of what truly mattered. As they spoke, childhood memories came flooding back. I remembered how Diana defended me when I was bullied in middle school. I thought about all the times we'd laughed together, shared secrets, and supported each other through tough times. It made the betrayal hurt even more, but it also reminded me of the good times we'd shared. I listened to everything they said, but I couldn't bring myself to forgive them yet. The pain and resentment from the past 3 years were still too raw. I told them I needed time to process everything. They seemed to understand and didn't push for more. My mother wanted to hug me before we left, but I stepped back. I wasn't ready for that kind of intimacy yet. The hurt look on her face almost made me change my mind, but I stood firm. I needed to protect myself emotionally. After the meeting, I returned to my apartment and thought carefully about what I wanted. Did I want to go back to my old life? Could I ever trust them again? Was it worth trying to rebuild our relationship? I realized that while I missed having a family, I'd also grown significantly over the past 3 years. I'd become self-reliant, strong, and had built a life for myself from scratch. I wasn't the same person they'd kicked out 3 years ago. I thought about my warehouse job, my online studies, and the friends I'd made. I'd worked hard to get where I was, and I was proud of what I'd accomplished on my own. The idea of giving that up and returning to my old life felt wrong. At the same time, I couldn't deny that seeing my family had stirred up complex emotions. Despite everything, I still loved and missed them. I wondered if I could have a relationship with them while maintaining my independence. After several days of consideration, I made a decision. I called my parents and told them that while I appreciated their apology, I wasn't ready to fully reconcile yet. I said I needed more time and space to heal. I also set some boundaries. I told them I was willing to maintain limited contact, but I wasn't coming home or pretending nothing had happened. I said that if we were going to have a relationship, it had to be on my terms. They were disappointed but said they understood. They promised to respect my boundaries and give me the time I needed. My mother asked if she could call me once a week to check in, and I agreed, thinking it would be a good way to slowly rebuild trust. As for Diana, I decided to keep my distance for now. Her actions had hurt me the most, and I wasn't ready to forgive her yet. I told her I needed more time before I could consider having a relationship with her again. She was upset but said she understood and would wait until I was ready. It's been a difficult week emotionally, with many ups and downs. I've had moments where I questioned my decision, wondering if I'm being too harsh or if I'm missing a chance to reunite with my family. But then I remember how quickly they turned on me, and I know I'm doing the right thing by taking things slowly. I've also started looking into therapy options. Many of you suggested it in the comments, and I think it would be helpful to have a professional to talk to as I navigate this complex situation. I've never been to therapy before, so I'm a bit nervous, but I think it could be beneficial. For now, I'm focusing on my job and studies. I have a big project coming up at work, and I'm determined not to let all this family drama distract me from my goals. I'm also considering moving to a better apartment. I've been saving up, and I think I'm ready for a place of my own without roommates. Thank you again for all your support. It means a lot to know there are people out there who understand and care, even though we've never met. I'll post another update if anything significant changes. Update 2. It's been almost a month since my last update, and I wanted to share some developments. I've been sticking to the boundaries I set with my family. We've had a few phone calls and text exchanges, but nothing too intense. It's been okay, awkward at times, but not as painful as I expected. My parents have mostly respected my wishes. They check in occasionally, but don't ask for more than I'm willing to give. I can tell they're trying hard to rebuild trust, but it's a slow process. My mother calls once a week as we agreed. These calls were strained initially with long silences, but they're getting easier. We usually talk about neutral topics like her work at the hospital, the weather, and my online classes. It's not much, but it's a start. My father has been sending short emails, usually just checking in or sharing something he thinks I'd find interesting. Last week he forwarded an article about a new business opening in our hometown. It was a small gesture, but it reminded me of how he used to clip newspaper articles for me when I was younger. Diana has struggled with the boundary I created. She's sent several long, emotional texts apologizing and pleading for a chance to make things right. I've responded simply, saying I need more time. It's hard, but I'm sticking to my guns on this. I know she's hurting, but I'm not ready to deal with her emotions on top of my own. The big news is that I started therapy. I found a counselor who specializes in family trauma, and we've had several sessions so far. It's been challenging to dig up all the pain from the past, but I think it's helping. My therapist is helping me work through my anger and trust issues, and she's giving me tools for setting healthy boundaries. In our last session, we talked about how the ring incident was about more than just the accusation. It was also years of feeling like I didn't measure up to Diana's achievements. It's made me realize there were problems in our family dynamic long before the ring incident, and healing will require addressing those underlying issues as well. One unexpected outcome of all this is that I've grown closer to my friends, especially Jake. They've been incredibly supportive throughout this whole ordeal. Jake even offered to come with me to any future family meetings for moral support. It showed me that family isn't just about blood. It's about who stands by you when things get tough. Work has been a welcome distraction. I've thrown myself into my career and even got a small promotion. I'm now in charge of inventory management for my shift, which means more responsibility and a slight pay increase. It's nice to have something positive to focus on. Regarding my living situation, I've decided to stay where I am for now. It's not much, but it's mine, and it represents the independence I've worked so hard for. My parents offered to help me find a better place, but I declined. I need to do this on my own. However, I have started seriously considering options for continuing my education. A state university about an hour away offers evening classes. I'm thinking about applying to their business program. It would be a big step, but I think I'm ready for it. Overall, I'm taking things one day at a time. Some days are harder than others. There are times when I miss our easy family connection, but then I remember how quickly they turned on me, and I know I can't rush this process. My therapist says it's healthy to have mixed feelings about everything. She's helping me be patient with myself and not feel pressured to forgive before I'm ready. We're working on strategies for handling upcoming family gatherings and holidays, which are making me more anxious than I'd like to admit. For now, my focus is on healing and building a life I can be proud of, with or without my family. It's not easy, but I'm optimistic about the future. I'm learning that it's okay to put myself first, and that setting boundaries doesn't make me a bad person. Thank you for your continued support. Your comments and messages have given me strength during this process. It's comforting to know I'm not alone in dealing with family issues like these. Update 3. It's been 6 months since my original post, so I thought it was time for a final update. A lot has changed over the past few months. The biggest news is that I've decided to relocate to a different state for a new job opportunity. It's a significant step up in my career, and I'm excited about the new possibilities. The position is with a logistics company, and the work is similar to what I was doing at the warehouse, but on a much larger scale. It's a management role, which I've been working toward for a while. The salary is substantially higher than what I was making before, and it comes with benefits like health insurance and a 401k plan. Before making this decision, I had a long conversation with my therapist. We discussed how this move would affect my healing process and my relationship with my family. Ultimately, we agreed this could be a positive thing for me, a chance to fully stand on my own and define myself outside of the family drama. I told my parents about the move last week. They were surprised and disappointed, but they said they understood. My mother cried a little, saying she'd hoped we'd have more time to repair our relationship before I left. My father was more stoic, but I could see he was sad too. They were both worried about me being alone in a strange place, but I assured them I'd be fine. Diana took it the hardest. After I told her, she showed up unannounced at my apartment, begging me not to leave. She said she felt like she was losing me all over again. It was a difficult conversation, but I held my ground. I told her this was something I needed to do for myself, and that our relationship wasn't at a point where her opinion could influence my decisions. Our relationship has improved, but it's far from perfect. We've had several family dinners over the recent months. They've been uncomfortable and awkward at times, but we're slowly learning to be around each other again. Trust is still a major issue. I sometimes question their motives, wondering if they truly mean what they say or if they're just trying to ease their guilt. My therapist has been instrumental throughout this. She's helped me work through my emotions and establish boundaries. She's emphasized that forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or pretending the hurt never happened. It's about releasing anger to find peace. I've taken that to heart. While I don't think I'll ever forget what happened, I'm trying to forgive my family, not for their sake, but for mine. It was exhausting carrying around all that anger and bitterness, and I'm ready to let it go. As I prepare for this move, I've been reflecting on everything that's happened. 3 years ago, I thought my life was over. I'd lost everything and everyone I cared about. But now I see how much I've grown from that experience. I'm stronger, more independent, and have a better sense of my own worth than I ever had before. I don't know what the future holds for me and my family. We plan to stay in touch after I move, with weekly phone calls and visits during holidays. It's a start. Maybe with time and distance, we'll be able to build something new. For now, I'm focused on the future. I'm excited about my new job, the new city, and the opportunities ahead. I've been looking at apartments online and researching the area where I'll be living. It's a mixture of excitement and nervousness, but I'm mostly looking forward to this next chapter of my life. Whatever happens with my family, I know I'll be okay. I've proven to myself that I can handle whatever life throws at me, and I've learned the importance of surrounding myself with people who believe in and support me, whether they're family or not. Thank you for following my journey. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more real-life stories that will shock and inspire you.